To install Boxcutter, go to Edit, Preferences, go to Add-ons, click this drop-down menu, Install from Disk, go to folder where you have the Boxcutter add-on downloaded, click on it, install from disk, boom, you have it. Save preferences, you're good to go. One very important thing, guys, if you have HardOps add-on installed, and I highly recommend you guys having it because this is an absolutely fantastic add-on which kind of works in pair with Boxcutter. So if you have it, go to HardOps' options menu, go here into context and enable Boxcutter notifications. Why it might be important and helpful is because when you're enabling it, whenever you will be performing your Boxcutter cuts on your models, this way you will have this nice little info box showing you what exactly you're doing. So this is really helpful. Okay, now let's talk about cutters. Let me press the D key to bring up the box helper menu. So Boxcutter has 4 main cutter shapes. These are the circle, rectangle, or square, NGON shape, and the custom shape. And all of these cutters can be in a variety of cutter modes, actually. So let's talk about them in more detail, as they are really cool. So the default one is this cut mode, and this mode will literally cut out the piece from the base mesh. Then we have slice mode here, and this mode will separate the cut part into an individual mesh or meshes, of course. So this way you can see that we have now 3 actually meshes. So the first one, second, third one. This is really cool and helpful. Then we have intersection mode, pretty self-explanatory, similar to Boolean intersection. It actually is Boolean intersection, which is more interactive and easy. Then we have inset mode. So inset mode will add a special cut, allowing you to inset some areas of your mesh a little bit inwards, but we will talk about it with later. And then we have join mode. Let me switch to it. This is the join mode. So this mode, instead of subtracting, will actually allow adding. Let me show it to you here. So this mode, instead of subtracting, will actually allow adding an object and gluing it to the base mesh with the Boolean union operation. So if I will go inside this parent mesh, base mesh, you will see that this is exactly what it did. It just added this box on top and glued it using Boolean. So then we have knife mode. This one is really cool. It's this mode will allow adding more edge loops. So let me enable the wireframe. So if I will press 5 to go into orthographic view, and I will just quickly add the cutters, actually cutting the base mesh and introducing more edge loops. So this is the knife mode. That's what it's so cool. It will allow you adding more support edge loops in areas where you need them to be. How cool is that? So pressing 5 to go back to perspective mode. Then we have an extract mode. Let me enable it. And this is really cool. And actually, in order to use the extract mode, you have to first have you need to have something cool going on in your model. So something like this. So you need to have something some pattern already defined, something like this. Let's say this is the pattern we want to use or extract. So we're pressing D to bring up the box helper menu. We're switching to extract mode, and then we just define the area we want to sample or extract. So this will be, oh sorry, I have to first select the object I'm working with, and now I'm defining the area I want to sample, right? So now that I'm happy with the boundaries, now that I'm happy with the area I want to sample, I click to confirm it, and then I'm actually switching to default cutting mode. So whenever I will be doing a cut now, I will be kind of recreating this pattern, this cutter pattern you see here. How cool is that? And I can alter its scale. As you can see, I can do all the cool stuff around the whole model, which will be exactly the same as I have this area defined here. So this is really cool. Let's see what else do we have. And finally, we have the make mode. And what makes this mode cool is that this mode will create a separate detached mesh on top of your base mesh. So something like, oh sorry, I have to switch back to cutter, to square or rectangular cutter shape, and then I'm in making mode. So as you can see, now I'm creating absolutely detached and independent shapes on top of my base mesh. So as you can see, they're totally independent, but still they are parented to the base mesh, of course, which is really helpful and cool. So this is really helpful and cool because instead of going into Shift A and creating some boxes, and then if I want to place it on top of this model, I have to press G and position it in the place where I want. So instead of doing all of these operations, I can just go to this make mode and start creating boxes or any other shapes directly on the area, on the surface I need them to be. So this is really helpful. This is a great time saver, really. Okay, now that we've been talking about the cutter modes listed here, we can talk about cutter shapes. So obviously we can perform absolutely the same cuts we've been doing with the rectangular or square shape here. We can do absolutely the same things with the circular shape. So just place your cursor wherever you want your cut to be. So just click, drag until you're happy with the diameter, and release the left mouse button and just move the mouse a little bit inwards to control the depth. Or you can just drag it all the way through it so that it's like looking like this, so it cuts through the whole model. Or you can just stop wherever you want, so it looks like this. Okay, so now let's talk about really cool stuff here. So let me switch to NGON shape, and I'm pressing 5 to go to orthographic view, and in this side view we will be drawing our NGON cutter shape. So you just click, drag, and once you release the left mouse button, you have the ability now to draw your sci-fi shapes. Well, why sci-fi? Because well, by default we have this angular snapping turned on, which is particularly helpful and cool for creating all types of sci-fi looking shapes. So that's some really proper sci-fi shape I've drawn here. So and of course to cancel it, you can just press escape twice and you can start all over again. So once you release the left mouse button, you can start drawing your shape, and once you're happy with the shape, you can just press spacebar and you will do a laser cut, so-called laser cut. And of course, once you've drawn the shape, let's say I've drawn something like this, let's say. By the way, check how these angles here, well, particularly not here probably, but rather if I will draw something like this. So with this angular snapping, as you can see, I'm able to perform absolutely the same angles on my slopes, which is very helpful, especially for the sci-fi designs, right? And another cool thing about the NGON shape is that you can actually tweak its points by just dragging and moving those points all around. And if you want more precision, if you want basically to disable the snapping, you can just hold Ctrl and you will be disabling this snapping, which is also very helpful. And once you're happy, let's say you see that now we don't have these 2 points aligned perfectly, but all you have to do is that you can just drag this point a little bit up, and it will be aligned perfectly here. Okay, so now let's say I'm happy with this shape that I want to cut, and now I can just, you know, change the viewport view here, and here I have this black little dot here, which I can just drag to control the extrusion depth. So I can either cut it all the way through, or I can stop wherever I want here. So now you can just press spacebar and it will be cut out, right? So how cool is that? So you can draw, and by the way, you can draw right from the start without this snapping on. So by holding Control, you can just, you know, have this precision however you like. So you can draw any angles here. So once you're happy with the first line you've drawn, just release the left mouse button, and you can now continue drawing your shapes, right? So by the way, check this gray dot that is turning red once I'm approaching it. So it basically indicates that I'm now closing my shape, and this point now is perfectly aligned with this other point you see here. So now I'm at the right right angle, so perfectly 90-degree angle. So that's really helpful. I'm right clicking to go to pause mode, and from here I can either press spacebar to perform the laser cut to cut my model all the way through, or I can continue doing all the cool stuff with tweaking the points here and there. And once I'm happy, let's say I want to, let's say I changed my mind and I want this point to be aligned with this one. So I can just drag it until it snaps perfectly here. So now they're both aligned. So how cool is that? And now I can just, again, pressing middle mouse button, I can just change the camera view, or rather the viewport view, drag this black dot here and cut it all the way through like that. Another cool thing about NGON shape is that you can actually bevel, its corners. And if you want to bevel all corners simultaneously, you can just press B on the keyboard, and now just move the mouse really accurately because it's quite sensitive. So and by the way, once you will reach 0, kind of, as you can see here, it will switch between beveling and chamfering. But anyway, you can switch or actually turn chamfer to bevel by just rotating your mouse wheel, effectively turning it into bevel. So once you're happy with the radius, you can just press spacebar and you will be good to go. Right? Super cool. Another cool thing, you can draw your shape. Let's say I've drawn something like this, right clicking to go out of this mode, I'm going to pause mode. And let's say I want to bevel or chamfer only these 2 points here. So I can just hover my mouse over this one of these points, and using middle mouse button, I just slightly drag like this. And let's say I change my mind and I want to bevel this one as well. So this is a really cool way of having different radius of bevels and chamfers in your designs. So that's really cool. And again, once you're happy, just drag this little dot here and you will be good to go. Nice. Another thing regarding the NGON shape cutters is that you can quickly use this tool for actually introducing paneling lines into your model. So, but in order to do that, you have to switch from this shape mode to line mode. So now you can just press C, and as you can see now, I'm now into this, I switch to this line mode. And if I will just, stop here, I'm clicking and right clicking. And if I will just now press spacebar, As you can see, I've cut through the whole model, effectively turning this line into a paneling line, right? And I can do as many as I want here. And again, same principles, sorry, let me quickly undo it. Same principles apply here in regards to beveling of the shape. So I'm right clicking to go to pause mode, and then I'm hovering over this point, and using my middle mouse button I'm changing the beveling on it. And again, spacebar, I have this nice little line, paneling line going on here. And what's even more cool is that I can actually change or tweak the thickness of this line. So watch this. I can just press T, and I can just introduce more thick paneling lines here. So once happy, I can just left mouse, left click, and just spacebar, and there you have it. So that's really cool. That's why I love this. That's why we all love it, right? So so just to quickly recap it, just click, oops, I went to another cutter shape here. So click, drag, draw something cool, right? If you want to avoid snapping, just hold Control, right? And once you're happy, close the shape, right click, change the camera view, or rather the viewport view, drag this dot to control the extrusion depth, spacebar, you have it. Okay, now let's talk about the hotkeys, because hotkeys are very important as they make our lives much easier. So if you want to draw a cutter, you can just click and drag, and there you have it, right? But if you want to make, if you want to start drawing your cutter not from the corner to corner as I'm doing it right now, but if you want to start them from center, you can just press Alt, and there you have it. And if you want to make all sides proportional of this cutter, you can just press Shift along with the Alt, of course, and then you will be drawing it from center while having all sides proportional. So that's really cool. Let's talk about the pause mode. And pause mode is very important because it allows the cutters to be adjusted before you actually confirm them. So in order to go to pause mode, press Tab key, and now I have these two little dots here that will allow you to control the extrusion depth of your cutter in both ways. Actually, I can cut it all the way through like that. And another cool thing is that you can actually introduce beveling effect or chamfering effect to your cutter like this. And another cool thing is that you can actually control the amount of chamfering or beveling for each of these points individually. That's really cool. So we can just hover your mouse over each of these points, and using your middle mouse button, you can introduce the amount of beveling or chamfering according to your needs, like that. So that's really handy. And by dragging this, as you can see, I've introduced also the beveling on this back wall here, on this part here. So it might be something you really want, but if you don't want this to happen, it's really easy to fix. So just press D key to go to Helper menu, and here you can see actually all the bevels that we're currently using on this cutter, right? So this is the first one, the main bevel, which bevels this shape here, this upper shape, and the second one is the one that is now beveling this back wall here. So you can either completely remove it like that, or you can just decrease the amount of segments here to turn the bevel into chamfering on these points, right? Like that. So that's really handy. And then you can just press spacebar to confirm it. Sometimes you might need to cut your models in some specific way so that the cut you're performing is not just a regular box, but it's rather a wedge. So you can easily do that by pressing W key and effectively turning your box cutter into a wedgie cutter. So that's really handy. So it allows you to create this kind of sloped cuts, and it's also very handy for creating all types of cool looking sci-fi shapes and hard surface models. And by the way, if you want to change the anchor point for the wedge, which is indicated with this cyan bluish line here, so it indicates the anchor point for my wedging, so it will be staying while these other sides will be actually going down like this. And now you can just press W to switch between different anchor points. And if you want to have an anchor point on this side, because as you can see, as I'm switching between the anchor points, it only gives me this side and this side, right? How to go to have anchor point to be on this side? Very easy, actually. You can start drawing your cutter not from this side, but rather from this side, so like that. And now if I will press W and W again, it will give me this side as an anchor point. So that's really handy as well. And now you're able to introduce all kinds of cool wedging into your model like this. And by the way, if you noticed, sometimes the wedge you're drawing might not catch the smoothing here, so it's really easy to fix. You can just go to the bevel here, to the last bevel, which is actually doing this main beveling, and just decrease the angle parameter here, so it catches this angle, this sharp edge as well, like this. So wedging is really handy. Another great power of hotkeys inside of a box cutter is the fact that you can actually turn any cutter into any mode that is listed here in this menu. For example, it can be circular shape, or rectangle, or custom shape, or NGON shape. You can quickly turn any shape into any mode. And by mode, I mean this mode, like cutting mode, slicing, intersecting, and so on. So if I want to quickly go to slicing mode from this default cutting mode, which I'm currently in, I can press X once. And now, as you can see here, I'm in slicing mode, right? So if I will press spacebar now, I will have two separate models here. That's very cool. And if I want to go, quickly to intersect mode, I can press X twice, and now I'm in intersecting mode. And if I want to go to inset mode, I'm pressing X again, and now I'm in insetting mode. And if I will press X again, I'm back to cutting mode. So that's really cool. And I press spacebar to cut it. And the same goes for the knife mode. If I want to turn my default cutting mode into knife mode, so let's say I don't want to cut out the piece here, but I would rather create the edge loops that are going like this. So I can just press Ctrl X, and that will turn my cutter into knife mode. So now when I'm pressing spacebar, I will have edge loops. Nothing was cut out, but I just made the edge loops here. So now whenever I will be introducing more cuts, they all will be in knife mode. So that's pretty cool. If you want to quickly go to join mode, press J like this. So now this model will be joined to your base model. That's pretty handy. And by the way, all the shortcuts are written actually here in this lower part of the screen. That's really handy. So now I'm in default cutting mode, and if you want to go quickly to, let's say, extract mode, just press Y. So now I'm ready to sample any interesting and cool looking pattern on my model that was previously cut out using cutters. And if I want to quickly go to make mode, I can press A, and now I'm in making mode. So by pressing the spacebar or left clicking, I can quickly go to make mode. And let me, by the way, enable the screencast key so you can see what I'm doing. So yeah, that's very quick way of changing between the different modes of cutters. So again, now I'm in cutting mode, I'm pressing X going to slice mode, again pressing X, I'm in intersecting mode, pressing X to go to inset mode, I'm pressing X to go back to cutting mode, now I'm pressing J to go to join mode, pressing A to go to make mode, right? And of course, to confirm it, I can just press space bar or just left click, right? Okay, now let's quickly go over all the main hotkeys that Boxcutter offers us. So that will be really quick. So draw your cutter, and now let's see what we have. So we have here the lock shape, which is basically pause mode, right? So you can press tab to go to pause mode, and now that we're in pause mode, we can press G to move our cutter, and we can lock the movement to certain axes. So now I'm locking it to axis Y, and now I'm locking it to axis Z and to axis X. Then we can, of course, by pressing R, we can rotate it. So that's very cool. Again, I can lock it to different axes. And here it shows what I'm doing. Now let's see what else we have here. We have scale. So of course we can scale it like this. I'm switching back to rotating, so it's straight again. Pressing tab to go to pause mode again. And then what we have wedge. So by pressing W, I can now wedge my model, but it's floating outside of the main model. So we can press G now to move it down a bit like this, and I can press Z so it aligns nicely, and now I can move a little bit downwards, probably like this. Nice. So again, as you can see, it's not catching this hard edge here, but that's not a problem. I already showed you how to fix that. And if you want to turn off the wedging, just press W again and we're good to go. What else we have here? So we've discussed wedging, then beveling, pretty self-explanatory. Let me drag this a little bit downward so we have more room to bevel. Press B to bevel, go all the way to 0 and then come back like this, and then we have chamfer. That's really cool and quick way to introduce chamfers or bevels into your cuts. And if you want to get rid of this bevel here on the back wall, on this back wall here, you just press Q. If you want to get it back, press Q again and you will have it again. That's really cool. So if you want to have this beveling, this lower edge beveling swapped and appearing actually on the front side, just press Shift F like this, and you will have then the beveling going on the frontal side. It's not working here because it's way up, as you can see here. So in order to see the effect, we should press G and lock it to, and we should lock it to Z axis, and now we have this beveling going on the frontal side like this. Okay, and of course we can switch it back by pressing Shift F. We can switch it back to be on the back wall again. So Shift F, you can quickly switch the beveling. What else do we have here? So then we have Solidify. Oh, sorry, we have Offset. Let's see what it does. So yeah, you just basically are able to move out the frontal, the starting point of your cutter like this. But you can basically do the same by just dragging those dots here and there, right? What else? You have here T, Solidify, so press T, and now you're able to kind of make this kind of gaps, which are cool for creating any types of paneling lines, or to create some kind of sections that may represent buttons or some kind of places that are meant to be pushed inwards or outwards, like all kinds of cool stuff. So this was Solidify, which is enabled by T. And what else do we have? We have Array, and that's a really cool thing. Let me show it to you on the new cutter. So let's say I prepared this kind of a cutter here, and now if I press V, I can now have this clone of my cutter. And if I will rotate the mouse wheel, I can have a multitude of my cutters like that. And again, I can switch between axes by pressing Y, Z, or X. I can vary the axis in which those clones will be appearing. So that's really cool. And again, by mouse wheel, I can control the amount of my cutters. So spacebar to confirm, and I have these nice little details here. So let's see, what else do we have? Then we have slice. So press X, and now it will be turned into slice. Press spacebar to have a slice, and then we have knife, K, knife, and we have the nice edge loops going on here. Then we have, let me go back to cutting. Then we have Inset, and Inset is basically the same as a Solidify, but it just, it actually works along with the Solidify. So you can press tab to go to pause mode, and then press T, and then you can control the thickness of the Solidify. So that's yeah, this Insetting is actually working kind of in pair with the Solidify. Okay, let me go back to cutting mode. Then what else do we have? We have join, and join handy for adding geometry, right? Now quickly you're able to introduce new geometry onto your base mesh, so that's really handy. Another great shortcut that I use almost all the time is tapering. So you're just drawing your cutter, and once you're extruding it, you can press Shift T, and now you can taper in and out the cutter, inwards or outwards. So how cool is that? And aside from that, now by the way I'm in pause mode, I can then adjust the depth of it, and also I can introduce beveling or chamfering as usual. All right, so this is really cool. And of course you can also use the tapering not only on the rectangular or square shapes, but also on all types of shapes here. So I can do the same with the circle, like this, pushing inwards, pressing Shift T, and now I can taper in or out. So that's a pretty cool feature. Now let me show you one cool little trick which you can do while you're doing your cutters. So let's say you want to recreate one particular cutter. Let's say you made some kind of a hole here, right? And now you want to quickly recreate this hole, this similar hole all around your model. So what you can do, you can just press Ctrl and double click anywhere on your model where you need this exact holes to be. So this way you will have absolutely the same holes which you drawn originally. So just hold Ctrl and double click. That's also very, very handy. Now let me show you a few cool tricks regarding cutter orientation, which is also a very important topic. So most of the time you will be absolutely fine drawing your cutters that are oriented to the local axis of your base object, like this. So even if I will have my model to be rotated in some weird way, something like this or this, something like this. So even if I have my model rotated in this quite weird way, if I will start drawing my cutters, they will be still oriented towards the local axis, the local orientation of my model, right? So that might be something you want, But if you want to cut your model not based on your local axis, on the local axis of your model, but rather on the based on the viewport or camera view of the model. So this way you can go here, switch to view mode. So instead of object mode, which is a default one, you can go to view mode, and then you're free to make your cuts outside of the model and press spacebar, and you can have all the cool stuff going on with these cuts. So all of these cuts are now performed based on the viewport angle I have in my viewport, right? So like this. So that's really cool. And another cool thing about it, and it's actually on by default, is that whenever I have this surface menu, which is this orientation menu, whenever I have this default object mode activated, whenever I'm starting to paint my cutters starting on the surface of my base model, they will be always oriented to the local axis of my base mesh. But if I will start drawing them outside of the mesh, so if I will start drawing my cutters not here, but let's say here, they will be automatically switched to view mode. You see, this time this menu was automatically switched to view mode, right? So if you want to quickly go to view mode without going here, here, and then starting drawing your cutters, right? You can just start drawing your cutters even in object mode. So you can kind of combine the both worlds. So you can start drawing your cutters while you're having your mouse over the model. So this way you will have the cutters oriented to the local axis of your object. And if you want to cut it like this, for example, here, you can just start drawing your cutter outside of the model like this, and boom, you have it. So how cool is that? I wouldn't recommend cutting, performing these cuts when you're in the perspective mode, because this way you might have a little bit inconsistent and hard to predict cuts like this. So if you want to make view-based or viewport-based cuts, I recommend switching to orthographic view by clicking 5 on your numpad, like this. Another cool thing is that, and I actually use it all the time, you can go to Object, and here you have this little drop-down menu, and here you have Nearest Edge, which is really cool. And I'll show you why it's so cool. So let's say you have this model here, and let's say you have, let me just draw this nice little sloped detail here, cut here, pressing spacebar to cut it. So let's say you want to cut, you want to make a cutter that is oriented towards this edge here. So if I have the orientation menu set to object local, if I want to start and draw the cutter here, it will be doing something like oh, sorry, let me switch to this rectangular shape. So if I will start drawing now, you see that my cutter is now oriented towards the local axis of my object still, which is something we might want. But if you want to orient your box-shaped cutters towards this edge or any other edge, you can go here, switch it to nearest edge, and then watch this. While I'm starting to draw, you see, then my cutter is being oriented towards this nearest edge, literally. So how cool is that? So I can switch to NGON shape cutter again, and I can draw all kinds of, shapes here. And if I want my cutters to be oriented towards these edges, as they're obviously non-45 degree edges, I can just switch here, object nearest edge, and I can start drawing my cutters. Oh, sorry, I have to switch to rectangular shape, and I can start just drawing them like this, and they will be perfectly oriented towards literally nearest edge I see here. So how cool is that? Another cool little trick that will make your life much easier using Boxcutter is definitely snapping. So you're enabling it here from the Boxcutter toolbar here. So not the main one, not the Blender one. So once you've enabled it, the cool thing is that now I can select my mesh, press Ctrl, and now I have these cool little dots that are kind of indicating the midpoints or center points of a particular area I am aiming at. So how cool is that? So now I can switch to, for example, circular cutter and start drawing the shape knowing that I am in the dead center of that area. That might be very helpful indeed, right? So that's cool. And let's say that I want to draw a perfect shape, a perfect circular cut that would correspond in a nice organic way with this kind of half circle. Of course, I can just go and, select my circular cutter and start to draw it, like eyeballing it kind of. But, well, this time it's kind of almost precise. But let's say that I missed and I'm like doing something like that, right? So obviously I'm missing it, and from hard surface golden standards point of view, this is not good, because this way we don't have perfect synergy between these shapes, this circular line here and this circle. So they're just not aligned nicely, right? So this is not good from hard surface point of view. So if you want to draw your circular cutters, knowing that you're starting to draw them from the dead center so that they later correspond to this outer shape here, you might want to press Ctrl and start from the center. So Boxcutter now kind of identified that I might have the center somewhere here, but it's actually not true. So it's a little bit offset, but that's not a problem at all. We can just help Boxcutter to identify where we actually have the center for this particular shape. We can just go to vertex mode right here, and as we want our center to be somewhere here, it might be helpful to just connect these two verts like this. So now that we've connected these two verts here, I can just go back to object mode, hold Control now. Now, as you can see, I have this dot representing the dead center of this area, and now it's corresponding to the circular area you have here. So I can just go to circular shape here, circular cutter, press Control and start drawing my shape like this. And now it will be perfectly aligned, as you can see, with this outside boundary of my model. So how cool is that? And again, I can press Shift T to taper, press B to bevel, all the cool stuff. So that's really helpful. And finally, last but not least, the cool thing about Boxcutter is that it is actually non-destructive. Well, actually, it's up to you whether it's non-destructive or destructive. You can choose which way you work. So if you're in non-destructive mode, it will mean that while you will be drawing your cutters, so let's say I made a couple of cutters here, here, and let's say I even switched to NGON shape cutter and made some sci-fi-ish cuts like that, right? So let's say that now I want to tweak some of those cutters. And since we're now in non-destructive mode, and that's exactly what is cool about Boxcutter, is as we were creating those cutters, Boxcutter was actually adding all of those cutter shapes into special cutters collection here. So at any point of time, you can just go here and select whichever cutter you want, and you can just edit it. So you can just select any cutter you want and scale it, move it, rotate it, do whatever you want with them. So that's really helpful. And if you happen to have HardOps, which I highly recommend, you can do it even easier. So you can just select your model, press Q to go to Hops menu, and then you can select here EverScroll. And now you can just rotate your mouse wheel, and it will like go over all of your cutters. So once the cutter you're looking for is appearing, you can just select it and do whatever you want with it. So that's really cool. But in case you don't have HardOps, of course, like I already showed you, you can just go to this Cuttters collection and just hide or unhide them one by one. That's also possible. So now that we know all of these cool tricks, we can just go here and start having fun. We can mirror the model in the first place. I'm using Boxcutter, but of course it's also possible to do it via the modifiers. So by clicking on this handle, I now have the mirrored model over the y-axis. So now all the cuts that I will be performing on this side of the model, they will be repeated here. So once I will do, let me actually switch to Boxcutter, box-shaped cutter. So whenever I will be doing the cuts, so something like this, let's say, they will be repeated on the other side, like this. And let me switch to orthographic view. I want to switch to NGON shape, and I will draw something like this. All right. I will go to pause mode, tab, and actually let me enable the screencast key so that you see what I'm doing. Let me undo it. So screencast, where are you? There you go. Okay. So I'm switching to orthographic view, and I'm drawing some nice little NGON shape here, like this. I'm switching to pause mode and hovering my mouse over this point, and with middle mouse I'm controlling the beveling, like this. Cool. Spacebar to confirm. Nice. Then I can just go here and start drawing some nice circular shape here that will go inwards, right? So now as you can see, I have this snapping on, and if I want to have it somewhere here where it really should intersect, I can go to vertex mode. I can, again, as I was already showing, I can connect those two verts like this, going back to object mode. And if I will hold Control now I should go to circular shape, circular cutter, pressing Control and just start to draw the circle like that, pushing it inwards. Maybe I can even Shift T to taper it a little bit, like that. Oh, maybe not. Let me actually undo. This time I want some really straight parallel lines for this cylinder. Okay, cool. Now I can start drawing some more shapes like this, trying to introduce some more intricate detailing here, right? So then I can probably draw another circular shape somewhere here, like that. So you get the point. So now you can do whatever you want with this model using all kinds of cool cutters that are at your disposal. You can do something like that, bevel them all at once, like this. I can go to orthographic view, D, rectangular shape. So let's say cut out like this, and I can press T to go to Solidify, and now I can introduce some paneling lines here. That's pretty cool. So as you can see, I can do whatever I want now. I can draw some cutters here. I can draw something interesting here, probably So you get the point, right? Okay, so if you liked the video, please subscribe and hit that like button and leave a comment below. Thanks for watching.